Hi everyone, and welcome back to Talk to Trish show. I'm so excited about today's topics. I'm always excited about the topics, to be fair. It's because I always have some amazing ladies on the panel, so you should be excited too. So for everyone who's returning, welcome back. And for those of you who are new, well done for discovering us. Where have you been? My goodness. Anyway, I'm excited to introduce you guys to my panelists today. As usual, I will just tell you the name and then they get to say what they want you guys to know. So the first lady right next to me is the beautiful Noemi. Tell us about yourself.
Hi guys, I am an artist and chef, so I like to sing and cook. That's me.
And next we have Shereen.
Yes, I am Shereen Louis and I am a Pilates teacher and I'm also the CEO of Louis Life Wellness.
And then lastly we have Maya.
Noemi already, Coach Ilunga, also an events and entertainment manager.
Thank you, ladies. Welcome. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
We have new faces, which I'm really excited to hear your views. And we have Maya, who's always here every once in a while. Welcome back and welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Very interesting topic. Very important. We've heard quite a bit about it lately. I'm sure once I tell you guys, everyone will recognize the topic. So today we're going to be talking about termination, i.e. / abortion. She said, okay, let's get into it. For those of you who aren't quite familiar with the term termination or abortion, we're just going to clarify it for you. So it's the process of ending a pregnancy either by taking medicine or having surgical procedure. Okay, this is somewhat a taboo, especially in our community. And it's always an ongoing conversation. This isn't a new procedure, but for some strange reason, we always seem to debate it, tell people who are having it how to do it or when to do it, not to do it. There's always a conversation around it. In the UK where we are currently, it can happen before 24 weeks, according to the NHS site. So I got it from there, just to clarify my sources. So the first thing that I wanted to ask is, the ladies, should everyone have the freedom to decide to have an abortion? I'm going to start with Noemi.
Right, okay, so first of all, yes, because a woman is the owner of her own body. If she feels that she cannot carry on with a pregnancy and she wants to terminate, then yes.
Shereen?
I believe in the freedom of choice. I think with me, I think there should be more counselling available for women because sometimes I think women get abortions because they want to solve the problem, but they don't really think about the mental and emotional trauma that abortions can lead to. But I do think you should have the choice to do what you want with your body.
Thank you. Maya?
Yeah, you said if everybody has the right to, and I think the everybody part is the bit where I was like, oh, maybe women, because the conversation, I guess, is about the rights of, termination, and the everybody part, I think, is a problem because this is something that is a woman's main kind of, it's her that gets to engineer how this happens, and so I think the choice should be up to her. Whereas with men, their conversation around it definitely exists because they are part of the genetic makeup of what is happening in
The men involved.
The men involved,
in
that
the
is
pregnancy.
absolutely the person, not your
Not
dad
random,
or your uncle,
like, stay
right,
out
or
of
your
it.
mates,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the person that you have
Not
laid
your child,
with,
Okay.
right?
your business.
They are the person that has a say in regards to it, but the decision definitely
Should
is
be
on
of
the
the
woman.
carrier.
Women, for sure.
So it turns out we're all pretty much pro-choice.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Pro-choice,
yeah. Pro-choice,
Okay,
yeah.
great. So in terms of the length of when termination could be done, because recently we heard about what was happening in Texas, where I think they lowered the weeks where it can take place to like 6 weeks, and I think that works out 2 weeks after you missed your pregnancy or something.
Yeah.
And I think that's what caused the stir. Correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, because I was trying to ignore the whole thing, because I was
2 weeks after you missed your
Your
period.
yeah.
Yeah.
So after you miss a period, that's the time you can have an
2
abortion.
weeks after you miss your period.
It's the only time you can.
And some people
The
don't
only-
pick this up until
That's the only time.
Yes.
weeks later after that.
In Texas. Yeah. So how do you feel about that, Noemi?
No, first of all-
I'm getting a feeling.
Yeah, because I think it's a bit weird, to be honest, because I don't know if we all mothers here, but when you go through pregnancy, there's a certain stage, I think it's after 3 months or something, you go through scans for them to check if the child is fine. and if the child is not, they give you an option to have an abortion.
Yeah.
But 3 months is already a kind
It's
of
a good 12
semi,
weeks. Yeah.
developed baby.
Yeah.
So if you offer me to terminate my child at 3 months or whatever month it is, then I should be able to do it afterwards. Does it make sense?
So you feel
I
like
should be able to terminate my pregnancy
after the
up to
first
that
scan.
point, or
Because you don't have any scans before 12 weeks.
you don't.
And since we're talking about being able to tell a woman's pregnant, how many women actually know they're pregnant?
Did
at
you know?
6
I
weeks?
was literally like, what happens next? Then what?
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Not many, because you don't even know. You thinking your
Right.
period is
Some
coming.
people have irregular periods.
that's the
Yes.
issue.
Yeah.
That when a woman's supposed, like, not when are they supposed to know, but lots of women's bodies react differently. So to give a standardized, and this has always been my issue.
Thank you.
To give a standardized kind of time or date or how your body's supposed to react to certain things for when you can make a serious decision like that for yourself or not. It's just, I think it's just really unfair. That's why it doesn't sit well.
And this is an important moment to highlight why men shouldn't make laws for women. You know, it's really important to have someone in the room
Yes.
who might be able to relate to the issue.
See, I'm not scared of that
true.
myself.
That's true.
Because you do have that one or two other women that's in the room talking about, yes, that's the right thing to do. I think
Yeah.
that's been
There's
a
very
new little trap.
right-wing women,
Yeah,
aren't there?
there are definitely women out there. Let's not forget now, there are very pick-me women out there that are happy
Yeah.
to support men's agendas and
Yeah.
push them through.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful with sometimes making it seem like it's just a man's way of being able to stop that.
Yeah.
Women
There are
have
women
been
that are out there
very,
pushing them,
very,
yes.
Yeah.
you know...
They pave the way to an
they
extent.
do.
They validate what those men are saying, you know,
Yeah.
because they come and say, you're right, you know.
Because it's dangerous to now use that, because tomorrow someone will be like, well, actually, there were 3 men in that room that decided it with us. And in fact, what if there is a judge or a woman in power that is still kind of anti-women?
Yeah.
You still have to be able to
Yeah.
pick that up.
That's very true. But the point is, at 6 weeks, it seems very
Crazy.
unrealistic. I think 3 of us are mothers,
Yeah.
and for motherhood, we're very much
mean,
like,
I,
no.
I can't even process the fact that I'm pregnant in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you cannot.
Much less
because-
have to make a decision
Yeah.
whether I'm keeping the child or not.
And then I think if you look at the 6 weeks period, that means you would really have to decide at 4 weeks
Yes.
that you don't want the kid.
But then you don't even know you're pregnant because
You
your
wouldn't
period
be
probably
able
is
to
coming
tell.
on the
You wouldn't
fourth
Yeah.
week.
So I guess it'll be every month you decide if you're pregnant, if you're going to terminate or not.
Just in case.
Yeah, that's
To
just
be the
stressful.
devil's advocate.
That's just stressful.
because we don't have any of the pro-lifers here, right? So and this is coming from hearing comments and conversations from their point of view of what it is, and it's like, well, you know, when you're having sex, you should know that you're in some sort of position to get pregnant, which I personally agree with, right? And as a woman, I feel like because I've now understood to some extent the responsibility of me being the womb person, okay? I carry the womb, right? Which means I'm technically more responsible than you are as a man in this position with how not only my well-being but the well-being of this fetus, which is going to grow into a child, right?
Yeah.
So it's like being aware of that responsibility means I then have the power to then determine what's happening or not. And I think when I spoke about it from like a responsibility point of view, men are like, oh yeah, that's on you. But then it was like the power to choose. It's like, no, this is on us. So I feel like maybe power dynamics is like a part of the
But
conversation.
then that's what I'm saying. It's a bit weird because we shouldn't be both decision makers because we are both laying down and doing activities. If you put it in my body, it means that we are deciding. We are both taking the risk to create. Then it's not just my decision, is it?
This is where I've been hearing the conversation with men come in, right? And I've had a conversation about this with my partner where it's like, okay, what happens if we're in a very beautiful, happy, lovely, stable relationship? Everything's fine, okay? Because we can look for other reasons to why we do or do not want. Everything's kind of logically okay, but I don't want to proceed with this pregnancy. Am I a bad person if you do want to proceed with the pregnancy?
I mean, not yet to that. Sorry.
Yeah. What is, because obviously his point of view is I also have a say. To what degree do I have a say about the life that is now in you that we both consented to having sex for? Maybe we didn't say we wanted to have a child, because that's another part of the conversation. Are we trying to have a baby or not? If we're not trying to have a baby and then I get pregnant and then I'm like, I don't want this, does that make me a bad woman? Does that mean I'm not paying it? Like, what is that? Because I feel like a lot of guilt happens, because there's outside relationship stuff, those ones are a little bit easier, but then what happens when you're in consenting relationships and whatnot?
When people expect you to, well, go ahead and have it because you're stable. Shereen, what's your perspective on that? How much of an input can a man have in what a woman decides to do with the pregnancy?
First of all, I just want to follow on to what you were saying. What would be your reason behind not wanting to keep the pregnancy if everything is flowing naturally in the relationship?
Let's say, for instance, a career opportunity comes in place, which means, we know it's not 9 months of pregnancy. It's 9 months of pregnancy, plus another year of nursing, and maybe another 2-3 years of kind of bringing a child together. So we know it's a nice 5 clean years of having a new focus. Because you can do other stuff. It's not like you can't do it, but your focal point becomes this. So that's on you as the breastfeeder and the womb holder.
The honest
you
truth
have
is your
that.
priority changes.
Yes. And although you're a teamwork, does the main womb holder, I call it the womb holder because that's the only way. Sometimes I need to get men to understand I'm carrying the womb, not you. Like, let me clear the womb holder, right? Okay. My priority, the world around me has to shift, and it may not be the exact same for you as a man. And I think that's probably where there's a separation.
I think with men, a lot of times when women want abortions, they're seeing it as a thing where this woman doesn't want to carry our future in her stomach. That's how they see it. So they're taking offense to it because you're basically telling them that you're not good enough. That's how some of them see it. But if it comes to a thing where you're thinking about your career, I feel like women get set back in their career when they have a child. When you go off in that 9 months maternity leave, you come back and you're 10 years behind because systems update
change,
and you're just out of the loop with everything.
And also there's a hormonal changes in you. You have started a new journey, whether we like to admit or not. You're not the same person you were.
You have to make the right decision for you.
I've gone through that. I used to work, I was a police partner one time. I worked in a job for 5 years. Then I became pregnant with my daughter. And then I went for maternity leave. Then I decided to take another year because I didn't want to do childcare. Just to, focus on the kid. By the time I went back, new system, everything, new manager, new supervisors. And I just ended up being sacked.
These companies don't care about your personal
I'm
life.
not performing,
they don't care.
Just literally. So
your
it does make
liability.
sense.
When you become a mom, you're a liability to the company.
So are we saying that, we should take men's, the father point of view into consideration, but ultimately
you're the person that makes the final decision.
The final decision should come from
because
the person.
What if that man decides, 2 years down the line that he wants to bounce? He can leave.
Which happens,
then your opportunity's gone down the drain.
He can leave, but you still have to be responsible for this child.
And as much as, gosh, this is going to sound horrible, but I'm going to say it. As much as we don't like to say it often the men see the child as a woman's responsibility.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I think sometimes children are like a status. It's added status to men, like I'm a father. It sounds amazing, being fertile as a man. Oh, especially in the Congolese community. I have how many children?
I have a lot of kids.
Yeah, I have lots of kids. It doesn't matter if they have it with various women because they don't take the actual responsibility of those kids. Because if they did, a lot more men would want less kids. Let's be fair. A lot of men tend to think, actually, I'm gonna have 7 kids. Who's having them?
Having the 7.
Because if you were having them, maybe you'd have more of a reasonable number. To be fair, and also just the fact that the access is like, well, I'm gonna go to work, but then if you flip it over, it's like, no, you're gonna stay home.
Yeah,
and
they want 7 because they can have a side chick.
You know what I've been trying to figure out with this whole thing?
Ain't nobody doing 7 kids.
The journey between a man and a woman in pregnancy clearly is a bit different, right? Which is why the partnership is so important because I'm not asking you to be me or me to be you. I'm asking for your support of me going through what I'm going through, that we are both kind of going through, but I'm the person kind of engineering this situation.
I'm experiencing
it. So your participate, and I feel like it's so important for men to understand this. You still naturally have a connection with your child, right? It's just through me, right? Yes. What you're getting wrong is how you make me feel affects
the baby,
right? So if we now have a breakdown in our understanding and whatnot, your child is directly impacted by it, regardless. So my well-being is genuinely your priority if this child is a priority. That understanding doesn't somehow connect, right? So
you only get a portion of men that do get that. It's not everybody.
Completely. And then it's like,
not every man.
Then it's like, okay, genuinely, as the womb carrier, I'm, doing this whole kind of connecting with the child and all this other stuff. The dad still has a major part to play. You can still connect and communicate with the child from the outside, right? But then when the child arrives, it's no longer in just my womb. And I think this is the part of the conversation that kind of we don't get to explore. It's in my stomach, which means it's no longer just my child, right? Because it was both our child anyway. But now it's outside of me. It actually depends on both of us to survive. And I hear this a lot when it's like, but the woman is the person that nurtures it more. I hear that.
You're maternal,
But to what extent?
The child needs the mother.
To what extent is that?
It's both, because it's a balance. Because if it was just the woman only, then we would not need a man to come and do the foot.
There are other stuff.
Yes. Fertilize. Come and invade.
There you go. We wouldn't need. When a child is out, they need both energies to operate as they should. Because when we see sometimes when the child is absent, the father is absent, how it can affect the child. Because they need both. And even the dad can be present, as in they live in the house, but they're absent in the
they're emotionally absent.
Emotionally absent, and that still affects the child. So therefore, the participation.
And I think that's where it could be very important in having conversations with men about the possible termination is, well, okay, you do want this baby, but do you understand the responsibility that you have to play in this? It's not just a title that you get to be a father.
I feel like most men don't pay attention to that because they don't they don't get taught about it. It's at home when you're a young female going in the house. Oh yeah, you need to be like this so you can be a mom. You can do that. The men don't get to
their responsibility is shifted.
They don't teach them that too much. Because then you grow up. You think if you pay for my school fees, because back home this is what it is. As long as they pay for your school fees, they think they're doing an amazing job, and the rest. Mom.
I love the school fees thing. It's
a big deal.
It's mom. They
big
give
deal.
the money for the food, for the clothes.
It's the finance aspect as well. And fatherhood, the biggest responsibility in fatherhood is seen as finance.
Being the provider.
I'm providing, I'm financing.
And that's it. No emotional support, nothing.
What more can I do? I don't know. You can just kind of love your kid and get
Talk to me, hug me.
Like be there emotionally, psychologically, like actually be present,
They don't know how to because they grew up with fathers that weren't emotional.
They were the same.
Again,
so it's just something that they learned over time.
Passed down. It's just passed down because you grew up in a house where you see how your dad behaves towards you, your mom regarding you, and then you think that's normal. And then you carry on doing that. Oh yeah, I pay the school fees, I give the food, or maybe I drop you to school.
And then that's
my job done.
And this is why it's important to have real conversations when we're actually talking about big decisions like this. Is everyone has to understand their role in this. It's nice to want to enforce your opinion or your views, but you understand the part that you play in this once this proceeds ahead. Because I do think that maybe more men would internalize it less. They would take it less personally, the termination, if they realize, if they have to think about whether they are ready to be a father. It's not just about you as a mum. Am I ready to be a father? Am I ready to be a father with you? Can I co-parent with you?
Sometimes it's the partnership as well. Because once you move away from a certain partnership, you find, I don't know how to put it in words, but you find that you might be a better mother. You're looking after your child a different way because the partnership is different.
So I'm talking from a parent alone. Without the relationship.
Literally, like you might do a great job by yourself, than being with a man who's absent, because sometimes it's frustrating to know that someone is there and they're not participating, doing the job.
So
as they
it
should.
adds on, I guess.
Yeah,
Literally.
because you're making excuses for that person as well.
And then guess who gets stressed at the end? It's the woman,
And you
because
have to pick up.
See,
Yeah.
this is why when I think of myself, I like to be very honest with myself about this. I've grown up in what I call a broken home, right, where my parents divorced, and so I was the oldest daughter. So with the theory of the eldest daughter,
We have suffered.
Oh, Lord.
we are suffered.
oh, we are suffered for real,
Honestly.
We were parents before we were
Trust
parents.
me.
And
Oh my
that's
God,
what
don't
made
go- yeah.
me fall back in pretending that I understood what parenting and all those things were, because I was raised playing as a third parent, and it was only when I got older and I had to be a sibling to my siblings and I realized how rubbish I was at doing it, that I was like, what have I been doing all this time? Oh, I've been pretending to be mum and dad to you guys. Oh my God, that's terrible. Which almost made me slightly resent a little bit the concept of that responsibility. But what it actually made me do is realize that, and when I look at my mum and other women and I'm like, the burden of being a parent, this doesn't look right. This can't be okay that, there's two of you, but this one is carrying more, and it's like we're told to normalize it. So now I'm like really sure that I don't want to go through some of these things that have been normalized for women to go through. So now I speak to my partner now, we don't have kids, and I'm like, I want to let you know something about my sleep when a baby comes. I'm going to sleep. I'm really gonna
Make
sleep.
it clear now.
Because you sleep, as in, I'm a light sleeper, right? And he's a snorer. So naturally, it looks like when the baby cries, I'm gonna be the one that gets up to go. And I said, I won't be. You know why? Because I'm not gonna be in the same room as you guys.
You guys, I love that.
So you guys, why? Because you naturally sleep easily. So if I then take up the responsibility of picking up this, then you're going to naturally feel like it's not your place to do so. And I need to help you realize that this is a two-way game.
Sorry, I'm just going to reel us back, just because this is another conversation that I would like to have on this show again. So do tune in again and again and again, because these things are going to be discussed. I wanted to go back to the conversation where I was mentioning in terms of Texas, the laws of having to have a termination at 6 weeks. And obviously the contrast to it is, as said on the NHS side, is that a termination in the UK can take place before 24 weeks. I don't know how everyone else feels, but me personally, when I read that, I was like, 24 weeks, that's about 6 months. It made me feel uncomfortable. But I don't know if it made me feel uncomfortable because this is how I truly feel, or this is how society has made me feel about termination. But then it made me think, do we think the same as we think the Texas, actually you should actually extend that, make it be more reasonable with it? Do we think it could be lowered in the UK in terms of 24 weeks? What are your views, ladies?
It makes me uncomfortable because a fetus can survive from 22 weeks and you're saying that we can terminate from 24 weeks. That's why it makes me feel uncomfortable. I do think Texas needs to give us a few more weeks, because like I said, you can't even
a few more weeks?
I think like maybe 10 weeks, because your first scan is 12 weeks.
12
like
weeks,
10
yes, 12
weeks.
weeks.
You can start to see
When does
around
the heartbeat?
10 to-
Yeah, the
well,
heartbeats is from like 9 to 10 weeks.
weeks.
9 to 10 weeks.
Oh,
Not
9 to
between
10
that,
weeks.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, 24 weeks, that's way too...
Yeah, because that's a whole human, and then I do get the uncomfortability, because you can put the fetus, like you said, they can survive. You put them in a machine, whatnot, and really, I'm not speaking for all the women out there. If you feel that you can't possibly carry a child, that's I don't know. I mean, if you cannot look after a child, let's say you carry on with the pregnancy, you finish, you give birth and whatnot, you feel that you cannot, look after the kid. There's adoption. There's other options you can give the child, to other loving families. This is what I say to myself anyway, inside my head. I'm not those women, but I'm saying that's another way of looking at it, just to...
Yeah. Like, there's alternative ways. Just
Yeah,
to
alternative
be clear,
ways.
guys, when I say 24 weeks, I just want to be clear. It might be that there's exceptions. I don't know if it's 24 weeks for everyone, because this I kind of looked it up very quickly, and it didn't specify. It might be that maybe
if it's a risk
maybe there's a risk, then it's 24 weeks, but it might be lower and whatnot. I'm not sure, but I just know that when I read it, I was a bit like, oh, I'm very pro-choice, but that it kind of left me shook. Maya, what's your perspective on that?
I feel like, so there's two dynamics that I look at it in, because I was born from a young pregnancy situation, right?
Yeah.
So I look at my mum and she said this far too many times. If you guys weren't here, I would be over there, right?
Yeah.
And I look at her and I'm like, you probably over there. You probably wouldn't have been over there, right? Because the capacity of her being that she had to give away in order to raise us. I don't feel guilty because that wasn't my fault, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I wasn't even there.
But as a woman, and I'm getting to an age of understanding, I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn, that was stripped away from you to this extent. And I'm at an age where I'm like, if I didn't have that little corner of this me time that I had, God knows what I'm about to give to my child, right? So I'm growing and I'm developing and I'm becoming more and more comfortable about who I am as a person. So that when I am bringing a child into place, I'm comfortable about what I'm trying to teach them in order for them to be independent enough to go and do their life, right?
Yeah.
But when I look at what I also was a part of, based on their relationship and, you know, however they came, which was from always a very innocent scenario of how people meet, right? I also see how much their story has impacted my being and who I am and how I impact people. So it's like a double-edged sword. I do not want to be responsible for the brokenness of a child if I know I have a lot to do with how
They
much
turn out.
Yes,
Yeah.
with how much stability they have, how much understanding they have, and so forth.
Yeah.
So, and I've been in a situation where I've had to really think about this. Like for the first time, I'm like, oh my God. And then when I figured out to the depth of me what was the reason of continuing a pregnancy or not, I realized, and this is why I understand why women have baby mother and baby father issues, right? Because we have to look at that.
Yeah, you did,
Okay, so
yeah.
you did have a termination, but you kept it.
Yeah.
But there's a whole load of energy attached to this.
Yeah.
And then you then experience the conflict that comes from it. And it's like, you cannot take that away from her.
Yeah.
And you can't take that away from him. So it's like, when in the decision time did you have to not
Assess.
reverse, but
To assess everything and
stop
see
towards and-
if he was
Did
able
you
or
look
not.
at all the options that you had
Exactly.
available?
Yeah.
That's why
Or
I'm-
was it the pro-life
Yeah,
instinct
but
straight away?
Yeah, but you see, all of us, I can't say all of us, but most of us think like that because obviously it's rooted in religion, church,
Yeah.
where they tell
And
you
culture,
it's
culture,
abomination,
tradition.
it's killing, it's
Yeah.
murder
Yeah.
to terminate. But then most of the time they don't really put themselves in women's position for different, reasons and circumstances,
Yeah.
you know. Like someone could be abusing you day and night and
Yeah.
knock you out
Yeah.
anyhow.
Yeah.
And then you carry the baby, you feel like you can't stay in that relationship.
Honestly, there's something growing inside of you that is attached to a lot of energy that is a part of you.
Yeah.
So whether you like it or not, you're releasing some. You get to give. I haven't had a child, but I'm just imagining the life form process of breaking yourself down to rebuild yourself to give birth, because that's what I see women go through,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
You
It
literally
is.
go through a shredding process of being that woman to this woman in order to almost self-sacrifice happens
It
in the
is
process, right?
self-sacrifice,
So I'm like, there's a lot of things that's happening in this time to just be like, well, I'm just gonna, you know what? Let's just see how it goes.
You really have to assess whether you're ready as well.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Oh,
I know we
totally.
talked about assessing whether the guy's ready and making sure he's ready. But am I ready to be a mother? Because that resentment, it easily gets passed on to children. We see it a lot. You hear it in your parents' regret, like, you know, well, if you wasn't here, is that, you know, or do you know what I had to give up? It's like,
Exactly.
you
Oh,
chose
yes.
that.
Yeah.
But you
It
were
was your
speaking
choice.
as if you didn't choose it. You know,
Yeah.
is it because you didn't
I
understand
think,
that you had the right to
Not to interrupt,
have a
I
choice?
think, this is how we look at it. It was your choice, but then you have to think, you have to put yourself in their position. Did the parents accept their choice at that time? Because some of them, they're restricted in what they can choose at that time anyway. Because I remember my mom had it when she was young, and I don't think dad asked her to abort because she was quite young. She was trying to do her, like GCSEs basically, you know, and she didn't want to terminate. She wanted to keep the
proceed,
But then, you know, in those kind of situations, they put you onto one side. You basically over there because you bring in shame into the family type of situation. So you don't get much choice. It is what the parent wants.
Yeah, in some aspect. So I guess it's good to actually prep the women as well. But I guess in this aspect, let's bring it to my next question. Is it appropriate for someone to suggest an abortion?
I think it's always appropriate to suggest choice.
Choice, yes.
I think counselling should be provided, especially when you're under a certain age. You should be able to speak, because sometimes you can't speak to your family.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, there should be an option for you to have counselling, for you to actually go through
the choice.
But
I mean, if we talk about people in Texas, they don't have time for that. Like, by the
Because
time
that's
you actually get to a
that's like a
counselor,
law, right?
you have to keep the child.
Yeah.
It's actually really mad what's happening in Texas.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
this Handmaid's
it's a
Tale
big progression
vibe.
for women's rights.
scary.
It's disgusting. And it's in such a progressive country, you know, the best, what is it that like they say about
American
America?
dream?
It's the American, that sounds like a nightmare. Like,
It's
that,
very
it
hard.
actually sounds like a nightmare. But in terms of people suggesting it, what I mean is, even a friend, is it appropriate for somebody to say, to be honest, I think you shouldn't keep this pregnancy. I think you should terminate.
But what's their reason behind saying
depend,
that? Maybe they know the situation that I'm in.
So is there circumstances where you would
Yeah,
find...
because maybe
I
you
feel
don't
like-
actually realize what type of situation you're in. Because
feel like
sometimes we
exactly.
get, you know,
can't tell
when you're
someone.
inside in the situation, you kind of don't tell.
I would prefer someone to tell me if they feel like, you know, the situation is quite tough. I would rather you say, you know, you have options. But if it's
Yes.
coming from
Yeah, you have
the
options,
father of
yes.
the child, it's a bit.
That someone can't be him?
Yeah,
It
exactly.
just can't be him. What do you mean?
Anybody else but the other person responsible
What do you
for the
mean?
kid? Is there a reason why it can't be the father of the child, Shereen?
I don't know. I just find it offensive.
Okay.
We got into this together, and I'm
Of
trying
course.
to find a solution for it, and you're coming out saying you should have an abortion.
But what if that's his solution?
That's not a solution. That's the thing. Because what's the reason behind?
That's just a shortcut.
Yeah, that's not, because like I said, there's
Yeah.
also emotional and mental trauma that you go through after having an abortion.
Yeah.
He won't have to go through that. I have to go through
Oh,
it.
yeah.
But
That's
I
the
mean,
thing.
if he's assessed that and thought about it, because not everybody will come and say, get an abortion. Some might be like, okay, you know what, babe, I thought about this, and this and that, put it this way, I'm going to support you. No. Because I'm not going to lie, guys who want you to have abortions are so supportive, because they're like, I'm going to be there, I'm going to buy you, I'm going to pay, I'm going to get,
Sweets.
I'm going to Uber, I'm going to, like,
Oh man,
I know
trust
I
me.
get you in
See
that
with that, when they try to
Yeah.
mentally abuse you
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah.
That's
When
another thing.
that doesn't work, then it's the threatening.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm not going to be there if you
Yeah.
have this child. Then
Yeah.
you know, I will
That's-
love you.
yeah,
I
that's
will love
exactly-
the child.
exactly.
You know, but
It comes, I think what women have to come to terms with is, regardless to the assembly debate that happens, family, friends, even the man, the person that you have done it with, as daunting or as empowering as it could be, depending which way you want to look at it, it's really your choice.
It
Still
comes down
So
to
that
it.
everyone
It
will
affects
give
your
you,
life.
exactly. Everyone will give you. I think it's okay to ask for opinions. It's okay to get given options. You need your options. I think that's what we need in life. Like to know you can do X, Y, Z, but, and I remember this being a very major thing that I wish more women heard. Whatever decision and choice you make, hold it. Accept it,
Live in it.
and live in
Live in
it.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
not to say that there
Accept
won't
it.
be times where it won't be good and bad, but whatever you're going to do, as long as you can stand in it comfortably and say,
Yes.
I'm doing this out of love
Yeah.
and I'm doing this out of truth, let that be your point. Because like you said,
Yeah.
it's the mental health part after that situation, or whether you kept
Yeah,
it or not,
that's
that
true.
we don't talk
Because
about.
Because
some
you
women
think-
get haunted by that.
Yeah, because you
And
think,
then-
oh, my child could have turned out to be this.
Yeah.
Not only that, some
and-
women, they find it hard to get pregnant. And then they think
Oh,
back
yes.
to
Okay.
when I was 21,
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
an
And then
abortion.
they blame
Maybe
it to
God
that.
is punishing
Yes.
me
Yes.
for having this abortion.
Yeah.
And that means they didn't, as you said, live in it.
Yeah.
They didn't own their choice.
And if as some in my life coaching stuff, I'm always teaching people about how the power of your mind affects your reality. Imagine
What you
imagine
think.
imprisoning yourself
Yeah.
with a guilty conscience of something,
Yeah.
how that impacts your whole body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, if you can't have children in a certain period of time, there's something already happening internally where you've almost blocked yourself from thinking you deserve to or are able
To be punished for this decision that you made.
And I think punishment is a big part of abortion.
if you think about it like that.
Crucial in maybe in how we were taught abortion was.
Thank
Because
you.
just to speak from my own personal experience, I had miscarried. I had a very late, not very late. I had a late miscarriage, which it changed my world. Maya knows it completely changed my world. And the guilt was such a big part because I have had an abortion or 2 or 5 or whatever. It's no one's business, okay? I have used my choice very wisely, you know. I don't regret it. But once that tragic thing took place, once I miscarried, you start to think, okay, where did I go wrong? You know, because I think also miscarriage is another one where it's a taboo as well. You don't hear it often. You feel like it's
I don't even understand that.
It just happened to you by yourself. And so you question, my body failed me. Is it because of the abortion?
What I
because
did.
I was told that's a bad thing to do. You know, so it came from already thinking, everyone's warned me that it's a bad thing to do. So it's like, is that what... Was the guilt coming from me, or did it come from what I've been taught?
You've been taught,
Because what if abortion was normalised? Would I still feel that way?
That's what I don't know how to put this, but some years ago, I had to accompany somebody. Bear in mind, I'm still in church. My belief is completely on the other side. And they explained the situation. They had to go with somebody. And I had to go with them. But then I'm questioning them. I'm questioning myself. I'm like, is God going to hate me because I took them, because I went with them? But at that time, the situation and having the baby is, and it's impossible for them to keep the baby.
Okay.
Do you understand?
So you recognize why they had to do it, but you still question your own moral compass
So from that day, my viewpoint looking at abortion, even I was still in church, completely changed, because I said, you can't. If someone's beating you down and doing all sorts, you can't possibly carry the baby, because you and that child might die. You both are at risk. You see? So if your only way to get away from these people, because I don't know, for some reason I feel like abusive men tend to want children.
It's another way of controlling.
And
to
control.
Because you become more vulnerable. Because an abuser needs you to be at your most vulnerable.
If they can control you through that, then they want you to kind of keep the pregnancy.
And pregnant women are very vulnerable. They're very reliant on whoever's around. And so it's just another way of like, yes, I've got her. And also it's a way of keeping access forever.
It's true. Yes.
You know.
I think
that's true.
That was my main thing. For me, it was like, I'm laying with you. Subconsciously, I'm thinking there's a possibility that you could have a child, or I could have a child with you. Do I want this human being to be a part of my life forever? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's true.
Not really. Exactly. But when you think of it in that perspective, it's like through this child, you have absolutely some level of attention or affection that you can gain from me, whether it's hate or love, but you have access to me. And so I feel like I didn't want to give that sort of power to just anyone and everyone. So I'm like, I do understand that with a child, it is a bond that is forever.
Forever.
So it's like you kind of have to pay attention to what extent am I willing to uphold this relationship with this person? And let's say we can't always, we don't even know how marriage and love is going to be. Fine. But in your character as a human being, let's remove me from the situation of you being my spouse. Are you the kind of parent or person that I see raising this other human being with? I need to somehow respect or trust your character or your values or something
because
that would, do you know what I mean? So that when, let's say we can't have a relationship, co-parenting has to be the bare minimum.
Of course.
I need to be okay with you being with my child for at least a week and not have to worry, what is he saying to that kid?
And vice versa. Like,
it's true.
Do you not, I'll ask men like, are you not concerned if this person is the mother of your child? If what they will be teaching your child, all of that, that's you, bro. That's you. That's
or how they look at life. Like literally, there's so many things.
You pay attention to you've connected to someone that has as equal right and has as equal impact on your child, good or bad.
Thank you,
but that's why sometimes we don't think about that. We just look at love, whatever.
We think about the temperament. What's in the now?
Temporary now. and then
So just to move on, ladies, so we're running out of time, and I'm enjoying this topic, so maybe we'll carry on after the time goes off. So just the same way I asked, can someone suggest a termination to you? I have to ask the other way. Can someone suggest that you keep the pregnancy?
You can suggest all you like.
Are you going to be
Suggest
there?
away.
just
Are you going to be there?
Because that's what pro-lifers do, practically.
Okay.
Suggest
True.
or impose.
They
Different.
impose, yeah.
Different.
And let me finish with you guys answering. No, can someone suggest that you keep a pregnancy? Is that appropriate?
I say it. Well,
You said wow.
I'm saying well because medically, if I look at it from that perspective, as I said earlier, they do offer you to have an abortion, termination, when they think the baby has problems or could be disabled, whatever. They say to you, or do you want to keep
you
the
get an option
baby
then,
or not? Then it's a woman's choice whether she wants to raise a disabled child or she wants to keep, or she wants to abort. In other situations, I'm not really sure if I'll be comfortable telling a woman or suggesting that they do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Personally,
I
I
wouldn't be able to.
don't know.
Yeah.
Medically, it makes sense, but
It depends on the messenger. If it's someone in my
Yeah.
family, like if I had supportive parents, for instance, and they say, no, keep the pregnancy because we're going to be here to help you with the child. You can still go finish your education, etc. I'll accept it. But if it's like a friend or something that don't know my situation, then keep that to yourself.
So is that pretty much a no from everybody?
I think suggesting is
It depends on the
absolutely
messenger.
fine.
Okay.
I think suggestion is fine. And it does also depend on the messenger and how the message is suggested.
it's coming through, yeah.
But as long as it's a choice and it's about presenting options rather than I think you should do this, because you can ask everyone what they think. They're going to tell you because they're not in your position.
Yeah.
And even the people that are going to say they're going to support you, they can support, but to a certain extent, because you still
gonna
have
lead
to
you.
be the person that is going to be the primary. So it's like you can have the opinions of the world, suggestions of the world, and it's good so you can be informed, but it does come back to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And I think it's very interesting because there's something that you mentioned, Shereen, that is it depends on who the person is, especially if it's your parents, because they will kind of lift the weight, I guess.
Exactly.
Kind of offer their responsibility in this, which I think is it's an important part of being pro-life, because a lot of the time we say pro-lifers, they just tend to think that it's just their job to tell you to keep a pregnancy.
But then what
happens
happens
after
next?
that? As someone who is pro-life, what are you doing to show that you're pro-life
Yes,
in other
that you're
perspectives?
supporting, yes.
Because it's not
Very
just
supportive.
unborn fetus or unborn people, children that need you to be pro-life. It's children that are here. What are you actively doing for the children who do exist?
But then again, it's to do with, like I said, again, it goes back because I don't know, in my opinion, most pro-lifers are probably believers, Christians, and they think of it, traditional, they think of it as you killing, if you abort, you're killing a soul, you're doing this. They don't think about your current situation. And like Maya was mentioning, all the emotional attachment, the bonding, they don't think about that. They just think about, what God said or what the Bible said, and then that's it.
Texas made me question things because it was for a state to have so much concern about an unborn child being able to be born, but a lack of concern about the missing children, for example. The millions of kids that are going missing that nobody seems to be doing anything drastic about, but we're passing mandates about.
Just make me think.
Do you see? I'm just like, guys, really? We know that there is some sort of trafficking towards how children are being used, and children are not protected. So the idea of going to these extents of protecting children's lives before they're born in the agent of women's bodies is a bit like, this isn't is this really about the children or the women? Which one is it? Regardless, you're putting women aside to have an agenda that is not actually, we're not seeing.
It's not
what
about
you're doing.
what you're dressing it up as it is. It's more about a control
of women,
telling people what to do, kind of controlling. I don't know if I'm going to population, but just controlling people's choices.
Absolutely. I feel anytime life form, especially us as women giving birth, that's a very you thing. But when it gets spread out into society, your child is a part of society. And I think this is what we try to battle out with. This is my child versus this is the state's child or the government's child. Trying to figure out to what extent you're part of reality is and to what extent the external world is.
Yeah.
And that
Well, most of the sorry, you go.
sorry, honey, I'm actually going to close it up because I just want to bring it to a conclusion.
Okay.
As we've discussed, you know, the people who are pro-life or people who do impose their opinions as being a pro-life, is it fair to say that anyone who is suggesting or sort of imposing that someone keeps a pregnancy is actively ready to take on responsibility, some part of responsibility for that child?
No. They just
don't
have
know
an
if-
opinion about the child's existence, not
But
necessarily.
no, but I mean, should they be? Should it, like, okay, so you want me to keep the child?
Why?
You wanna
Because
look
they
after
pay
it
people
with me?
£20 a month. I don't get it.
No, but I'm just saying, is that something that we need to also address?
Yeah.
Yes,
Sure,
yes.
suggesting that I keep this child.
How
what
are
are you
you-
going to
But
do?
they-
How do you play a part
Yeah.
in this child's life?
Like I say, with the government, I think because they have that element. In America, I don't know how it works, but in UK, you get child benefit, you get free school, whatever, the meals, but then the emotional side still falls on the woman.
And this is what I was
So
going to say.
therefore,
It's not I like this conversation. It's not just about what the laws are suggesting, because whether we like it or not, sometimes it's the people very close to us. Sometimes it's our parents, sometimes it's our friends, sometimes it's people very close to us who do make this imposing decisions because of their religious beliefs or just their beliefs overall. Could be like, well, I think to be honest, my religion, boy, you're really gonna, you know, there's different ways to pressure someone into it. And so I think it's really important that if you are going to take that position, you have to make sure that you are actually making an offer for how you play a part in this. Because I personally believe nobody should be taking that position in the first place.
Yes.
I believe that it's very important for everyone to assess their choices. I think it's good to recommend choices, to remind people that they have a choice, you know, especially if they seem to be thinking that they have to choose a particular choice. It's good to just say, have you assessed the other choice as well, but not so much imposing on it. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you for today, and thank you everyone who's tuned in to this topic. I know this is a very sensitive one. Again, we will put organizations and contacts for people who may be triggered by this conversation, or people who are currently going through it and just need advice. Something that a lot of ladies, all the ladies here have suggested, and I'm suggesting too, is to really assess all your choices. Make sure that you are making your choices for you. Make sure you're not just thinking about them now, but also in the future. And understand that whatever decision you make, there is fear in both. And there is pros and cons in both. Please do not listen to the fear, because when people want you to follow their belief, they tend to tell you the negative about what you want to hear or what you want to do. But it's important to remember, whether you're having a termination or proceeding with a pregnancy, there is hormonal change and imbalance in both of them. It's very likely that you will experience some sort of anxiety or depression with either or, because when you become a mother, it's very common to go through depression as well. When you have a termination, it's very common to have regrets. It's very common to feel impacted by either choice you make. And this is why it's so important. If you are in a country where you do have time to think, maybe do seek a professional's advice. Get some therapy if you need support in helping you make that choice. But as long as you've assessed your choice carefully, it is your choice, and do not let anyone else drive you into make a decision that's better suited for them than for yourself. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Talk to Trish. We'd love to see you guys come back again. I know some of you are going to come back, guys. You better all come back to me. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. And thank these amazing ladies for me, Noemi, Shereen, and Maya. Wonderful ladies, beautiful too. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Inshallah.